So for today's topic, I again have 3 tips for you. My first tip for how to be successful as a software engineer is really just to ask questions. And this is something that I think is very interesting about our industry right now. And kind of just in general, I feel like, especially with something like a full stack developer, which is supposed to like encompass everything as engineering, right? Like front end, back end, knowing about databases, system architecture, and a bunch of other things. I feel like a lot of people feel pressure in engineering in general to not admit when they don't know something. And that's kind of weird to me. I always like to ask questions. I don't really care how simple or stupid the question is. If I don't understand something, I immediately want to clarify it so that I can kind of just get over it and know how to do my job or understand that topic that much better. I always just try and resolve any ambiguity that there is so that there's no questions to be asked, right? Everything is clear. I understand everything. So I think it's super important to ask questions. I know it's hard, but try not to worry about what people think. I think that if someone cares that you don't understand something or thinks it's ridiculous or embarrassing that you're asking a question, I think that's kind of sad. I think you should always help people. So if someone doesn't understand something, they're probably already nervous to ask the question, make them feel comfortable, and just do your best to explain the topic to them. And that should go the other way as well. So if you don't understand something, ask the question. Who cares? You might look stupid for 10 seconds and just don't let yourself feel stupid. You know, it's on them. They're the ones who are being ridiculous in my opinion. You're gonna win at the end of the day because you're just gonna learn more about your job or the field or something having to do with engineering. The other thing that I think is related to asking questions is what I try and do when I don't understand something. Let's say I'm reading something in the code base or I'm reading some article online or anything like that. If I don't understand something, I immediately look it up. And the reason why I do this is because the longer that I wait to actually inform myself or educate myself about something, the higher the chance it is that I'm actually not going to ever look it up or educate myself on that topic anyways. So the second that I don't understand something or the second that something's unclear, I immediately stop and I actually try and educate myself on that topic. It's the boss. And it's funny because whenever I actually don't have time or I can't look something up at that exact moment, I have this. So this is just my notebook. I carry it around and I actually make a goal to learn 3 or 4 things every single day. So this is the date. I think this is from December sometime. But the whole idea is that I write down 3 or 4 things, and hopefully by the end of the night I can just check off what's in my notebook, and hopefully I will have actually learned those things throughout the day or before I basically sleep. And if I don't, I typically just carry them over to the next day. So this way I'm always learning something, I'm always becoming a better engineer. My second tip for how to become a successful software engineer is read code. And this is something that you have to do every single day at your job. This is something that you're probably doing a ton in college. This is things that you're doing on your own when you're learning things. But just don't stop reading code. Don't stop reading documentation. I think this is really overlooked. I think a lot of people try and stray away from things like that. People end up doing tutorials. People end up reading textbooks. But I really think one of the best ways to learn how to code and become a better engineer is really just reading code. I always think to myself, if I could just look at code and understand it the way that I understand English, that probably means I'm doing something right. What I would try and do, especially when I start a new job or something, is I actually take my laptop home. And so for the first month or so, I really just after work take my laptop home and almost as if I was like casually reading a book, I just read through the code base. And I think this is super good in terms of picking up new things. It teaches you things that are good practices. It teaches you things that are bad practices. It's funny because a lot of times you think, companies' code bases are super clean and whatnot, but you'll actually, I'm sure all of you watching this right now, if you're, a developer in the real world, you guys have probably seen some code that, makes your eyes hurt. But either way, right? It teaches you something either that's really good practice and you kind of hold on to it and stick it in the back of your head. Otherwise, you look at it and you're like, this really isn't that great. Maybe these are, better ways to do this, or I can come in and refactor this. So I think reading code is a really invaluable way to just become better as an engineer. So like I said, if you're starting a new job, I really recommend bringing your laptop home and maybe the first month just kind of like casually read through the code base if you have some extra time at night. And this is really important as well, like if you're actually going to take your laptop home and you could actually read and understand code very quickly. Because every time you kind of come into a new job, you can really understand a code base quickly and make sure that you're actually contributing and becoming, efficient and are basically being a productive team member very quickly. And so this is a little side note, but I also think that it's worth mentioning that good code should actually read like a book. So if I'm kind of just looking at face value at a piece of code, hopefully I don't actually have to go in and understand every detail and every piece of the code to actually understand what's happening. If variables are named correctly and functions are named correctly, and you kind of abstract away all the stuff that's, the nitty-gritty details, a lot of times you could really just read code like a book. And at a high level, I could very quickly kind of scan the code and basically understand what's happening. My third and final tip is definitely to find a mentor. I think having a mentor is super invaluable for just your career trajectory, just for you as an engineer to make sure that you're kind of like always progressing, always jumping up to that next step. I think having a mentor really gives you someone and something to chase after. Hopefully the mentor is someone who's older, hopefully your mentor is someone who's more experienced, or they work at a great company, or they are really smart. I think having a mentor really drives you to be a better engineer. It also allows you to have someone to talk to who's probably made mistakes, or probably someone who's been in your shoes, right? And they know what are the things that you should do to be successful and things that you should avoid. And so I think having a mentor really allows you to progress probably at a faster rate than they would have. And so it's funny actually, because I have a little brother, and my little brother's name is Brendan. And so Brendan is currently in college, and of course, just like me, Brendan is also a computer science major. And I tried to give my 2 cents to Brendan and kind of just tell him, hey Brendan, this is a mistake that I made. Don't make the same mistake. Learn from my mistakes. This is what I suggest that you do. And sometimes it's not that easy to take someone's advice. So what I tried to do, actually, it's funny, I bought Brendan this book. This is called Competitive Programming 3. It's a really dense book, but it's really good. It has a lot of great problems in here. And I took this was my textbook essentially for an algorithmic problem solving class that I took at NYU, New York University. And so I told Brendan, I bought this book for you. Do me a favor and just read 2 pages every single day. And Brendan, if you're watching this, I don't know if you've been reading 2 pages, but I hope you have. So find a mentor. Brendan, don't make the same mistakes that I have. Learn from people who are older than you, learn from people who are more experienced, and ultimately just become a better engineer. So guys, these are my 3 tips for being a better software engineer. My first tip was to ask questions. My second tip is to read code. And my third tip is to find a mentor. If you guys found this video helpful, do me a favor, leave it a like and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you guys next time.